Hi everybody, this is Dale. Welcome to my channel, Not Too Shabby Chic. I have a journal flip through to share with you today. This is my design team project for Gi Kerr, Happiness and Crafting. This journal I used Gi's kit entitled Digital Embellishments Set 2. And I will link that below to her Etsy store, and I will also link below her Facebook page and her YouTube channel. But this is an embellishment set, and I wanted to show you what different things you can do. Some people think when they see an embellishment kit that all they can do is just tags and cards and things to add to a journal. And that is a lot of what it is, but I actually made a Hinge tab journal with the embellishment kit. Sorry, I'm adjusting. And also used smaller sizes for some of my tags and pockets. So the Digital Embellishment Set 2 by Gi Kerr, Happiness and Crafting. And I've got this cinched with a ribbon. I can't remember what this fabric is called, and I got it with something I ordered, and it's a beautiful, like what I call a celery or celadon green. So you have that ribbon. So the cover, I did a beautiful antique or vintage brooch that's in greens with some baby doilies that are vintage doilies, vintage buttons. This says Cherish. This was from the Dollar Tree, and this page is an Edith Holden book or kit page. I can't even talk. This is some trim I get at Hobby Lobby, and you can see there are dangles and things sticking out, things sticking up, and then the hinge binding is this, and it's a tab hinge binding, which means you can have single pages, not folded pages, and you hinge them together with tabs. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It says 11, but I think I have more pages than that. So let's look. So I showed you the cover. Inside I have, this is my wine dyed paper that I did with a snippet belly band I got from MJ Ray's, My Paper Journey. This is a vintage playing card. This is from Gi's kit. It says Moments, and I stitched with a vine stitch in black all the way around. And this is also, you can make, set it whatever size you want. But this is a smaller size I did for journaling space. This kit is beautiful. This is just a vintage card I had in my stash. So that is that. Little doily here, and trim on the inside as well. This is Gi's, one of her pages, like this card that I just showed you. In big size. This says Memories, and I did the vine stitch. Has a couple of vintage buttons, a fussy cut butterfly, and this is just a little tag that I did stenciled with some cheesecloth and a Tim Holtz girl, because I thought of memories and this little girl holding the flag, and she's got her sash and she's so proud. And then you can journal on the back. This heart is from the kit from Gi, and I have a fussy cut butterfly on the heart. I used it as a tuck spot with that, and some trim that I inked up a bit on that page. Here we have more of my just a plain back that I stenciled on that I'll show you, but I have this rose trim, and I used it as a tuck spot. And this is a little tag I made. This is one of Gi's butterflies that I fussy cut out of the kit. And some eyelash sparkle trim, and vintage buttons, vintage music sheet. And you can journal on the back. This is a card from Gi's kit, Harmony. Isn't that pretty? this kit, these embellishments, you can just do so many things. I didn't have enough room to show you all the things you could do. This is one of the banners or labels she has in her kit, and I put it on the front of this craft envelope. That's a heart from the kit that says Harmony, and I used it to hold the envelope shut. Then this is some Tim Holtz wallpaper paper. And I just inked it so it's just for a little journaling spot. Fits down in there, and then I just put it in one side of the heart and thought that was adorable. And then you can see I used a stencil with a couple of colors, toasted rose and vintage photo. So that turned out nice, and you just tuck it in like so. And when you this will be listed in my Etsy shop unless someone messages me before I get a chance to put it in there. And you can rearrange and do what you want with things. This is just some coffee dyed paper, and I've got a vintage button here, a flat back pearl there. You see the hinges, and this is a little corner tuck that I learned how to make from Gi, I believe. And then I did a stencil that you can journal there. Flat back pearl here. I did a stamp of the bird in the birdhouse. I thought it was cute. And there's the other side of the corner page thingy. This is from the kit, Imagination. And I sloppy stitched around it. And you've got a butterfly. And I made a little Tim Holtz paper doll on one of Gi's hearts from the kit. And she's sitting there thinking about what she's gonna make or do with this basket of things. So that went well with Imagination, I thought. And you of course see the jewel butterfly and the rose trim. On this side is Imagination, a little larger, and I made a pocket out of that and sloppy stitched. And this is a pocket, a side pocket, and I have a vintage quilt postcard. This is a chintz quilt from 1825, but this copyright date is 1988, the actual card. And there's room for you to put some other goodies in there should you want to. In here I did a little bitty book, and I used this little pink and white lace trim to kind of go around. You just open it up like so, and this is handmade paper. It almost feels like fabric. Isn't it cute? Just a little journaling book. And I always forget what I'm doing. Let's see. Come around this way and tie it back. And it's just, I thought, a cute little book. You know what? I'll tie it back better later. And then this is a journaling card that I stitched around. It's got little pink flowers. Just a little journaling spot there. That goes there. And here is Imagination from Gi's kit. I cut that out off of a card or something. I had some extras printed. Then this is an Edith Holden page, and on one of my fabric clusters with a vintage button. Here's a vintage button. And then, you know, you see all the stitching I did on every page. And the other side of the Edith Holden page. And then here's a ruffle that I made out of some vintage fabric ribbon. Vintage buttons. Then here's another page from her kit, Harmony, like the smaller cards that you saw. And I did a corner tuck here with, put a little bird feather. And this is a vintage doily and button with some vintage music sheet. And then I put a little paper doll, one of Tim's thick dolls. I just thought they were cute for Harmony. And then this is another vintage playing card. It says the Greenbrier, 3 of diamonds. So this is just, you can use these corner tuck pocket or covers. You can decorate them and just make an embellishment out of them, or you can use them as both, as a pocket too. And this page is my wine dyed paper I backed it with. Have a vintage button, and the other side of the corner tuck I have a vintage doily and a vintage button, and I made a little card with her Harmony banner, and I made it real small and put it on top of some vintage music paper with a vintage button. This is another Edith Holden page, Song Thrush's Egg. It's got a little poem there and a little fabric cluster with a vintage button that I did. Here's the other side. I think this is the first part of the poem and this is the back. So I did it backwards. It should have flipped the other way. So this is the first part of the poem about the song thrush, and this is the latter part of it. But anyway, I just did a vintage rough lace and buttons, some cheesecloth, and just a piece of lace I got at Hobby Lobby there, vintage buttons. This is another one of my clusters, and it's just a flip out, and I did some stenciling with the Toasted Rose ink. So I got a lot of journaling space in here that I don't usually have. This page was just so pretty, I just didn't do anything to it. All of her pages are very pretty. It was hard for me to put things on them, so this one I left as is. And there's a vintage button there and a vintage button here. But isn't that just beautiful? It says Journey. Looks like the big stamp and the pretty butterfly. Then this page is just some scrapbook paper, and I have one of Gi's hearts right here from the kit that I made a little. I just glued it down, and there's some vintage lace. This is a 3 tier pocket that I folded, and then I have this little bitty bird, and then it says Free to Fly. It's a Tim Holtz little thingy do. That's a technical term. So I have, this was in my stash, and it's kind of stiff, so you can journal on that. And this is from her kit, Journey. It's on the other page. This is a smaller version that you can journal on. And then there's a pocket there, and this was just paper from my stash. And the words say, Fear Not, that are tied on the muslin. And if you have something real tiny, you could put it here. That's a little tiny part. So you've just got one, if you count the tiny one, 2, 3, 4 pockets, and I just folded this out of one piece of paper. Here's a vintage button, and this is a CD cover that was copy dyed, and I just stenciled on it and put some trim and some vintage buttons. Oops. I love this page. Inside the CD case, this is just a picture of one of my crochet doilies. And I just love the way that looked. And I've got the sparkly avocado dyed paper I got from Jovi. And this says Be True with the Tim Holtz little paper doll baby. She just looks like she's surprised and so cute. And then I did some raggedy taggedy stuff behind her. And then the pink jewel butterfly. So that's that. But I just love that baby's face. This page is a flip out. Here's a journal. This was just holding it down. It's just a bulldog clip. And you'll see it from the other side. And there's a vintage button. So on this side, you've got some trim here. And it flips out this way and that way. So you've got some hidden journaling space. And I just clipped it with this and had some baby pink and gold twine that I tied a bow there. Vintage buttons throughout. This is just some paper stash that I had with birds with banners. I thought it went well. Another fabric cluster with a button that I did. Vintage button. Here's a snippet roll from MJ that I used as a belly band. And this is from Gi's kit. This is Memories, a smaller version. And this is just a Project Life card that says Today Matters. Because today does matter. Every day matters. So make the most of every day. Vintage buttons. I made just a little frou-frou here to let it hang down. But I loved that green button. And this is an altered paper clip that holds something on both sides that I got from Sherry Schmear with Studio 28E. She made that. And this is just a beautiful note card that I had, that I inked around and just had it like that so that you can have a secret journaling spot. And I just have that tucked over it so that it stays closed. This side, it holds a beautiful postcard or card with lots of bird feathers, and it says today's prayer, Romans 8:28. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Beautiful scripture, and it's so true, and I loved it. So I have included that I got from someone in Happy Mail. This is one of Gi's pages, and I took her banner and inked and made it bigger so that it just kind of popped a bit. And then that's a vintage button. Then I have this black like chalkboard tag with some sorry silk trim. And you stick that right there, and that's just got some Hobby Lobby trim there. This is Gi's kit page, a beautiful butterfly with the flower. These are from an old necklace. And then her heart says imagination. I just fussy cut that out and used it as a tuck. And this is a little tag in her kit that you could make bigger or smaller. This tucks right in there. Moments from her kit, just resized. You can resize these so many different sizes and do so many things with it. This is just some yellow dyed sparkly paper I got from Creating with Jovi. And I stenciled and added this beautiful applique that I got from a beautiful dress that I've used some of that before. This I made a cool cluster, just used some fabric pieces, paper pieces, vintage music paper, vintage button, and stitched it together and glued it down. I love that. This is a vintage flatback something, and I did stenciling. This is a little tiny paper clip from Tim Holtz, and I stenciled there, and there's a flatback pearl, and this is a vintage playing card. You turn it over, and this paper clip holds closed another little flip out. So you have like so. See? And I put a vintage button and a tab and a vintage doily there. So this holds this closed, and that's like that. This is an envelope. It's vintage envelope actually, and I did some stenciling on it, vintage buttons, and turn the page, you see the vintage print on it, and I did some stenciling. I put a fabric cluster with a vintage button, and we have a vintage looking flashcard, and this was in my stash that you can color if you like to color, and I used a ticket that I have in my stash, a roll of pink tickets that I have. Slide the back in there. Vintage buttons. This is from Gi's kit, Imagination. It's a big page, and I did a little piece of the trim here, and I did one of the corner covers, protectors I guess you could call it, with a vintage doily and a vintage button, and it's a tuck with two. This is Gi's Imagination card. This was just a card from my stash, and they just slide up in there, and this paper was just from a card scrapbook paper. And on this side, just a vintage doily, vintage button, and there, and this side is just glued down. There's no tuck. I got this from a recent tutorial by Gi on a flip out for your journals, and it is so cool, so I had to include that. So you do that, and you pull this down. Is that not cool? And you can write on it. And then when you fold it back up, I about got my strings too short, so, but you can still write on it real easily. Isn't that cute? Just love that. And this is some avocado dyed paper that I did. And I almost overdid, but I like the grunginess of it. This is just a coffee dyed piece of paper, vintage button, just an embellished paper clip that's alcohol dyed. It's like a fuchsia color. And then this tag, the secret ingredient is always love. You can journal on the back of that. Just some piece of vintage doily. This is a beautiful postcard of an angel that's carved. Isn't that gorgeous? In the 1470s in terracotta. And it's in London, printed in Great Britain. So it's gorgeous. So you could journal on the back or not. Vintage button, a jewel butterfly. This is off of Gi's kit that says Journey. And I use this to hold down my page. So you've got another little journaling spot there. And you've got your journey going on. And then I made a pocket in the back, and that's just a tag in my stash. So there's room for you to add other things. This I had in my stash out of a scrapbook paper, and I printed this out. It's a quote by C.S. Lewis. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. And that is so true. And I love this. Look, I took a Tim Holtz man and made him on a tag. Isn't he cute? I was so proud of myself. Isn't that adorable? And I just, collaged some stuff. But I love that he fits in there. And then I included in here lots of extra pieces. I don't want to dig down in there and get it right now. Out of the kit that you can put in other places if you want. And there's a couple more things down in here. But you've got a memories banner, harmony card, a circle with the butterfly and the flower, and then a card with the butterfly and the flower. So I've kind of tucked those in here, and I didn't ink them or sew them so that you could do what you wanted with those. This is a page that I just did some stenciling, a vintage button, did a little fabric cluster, and put a vintage stick pin with a butterfly on it here. And vintage buttons, stenciling, and some trim from Hobby Lobby. And this is my wine dyed paper, and I did a doily with a vintage button. There's the trim like on the front. This is Gi's card from her kit. Beautiful, beautiful. And I have another vintage playing card, 10 of clubs, and this Journey again from the kit. So there you go. And this is the back. I have 3 vintage buttons. This is the Tim Holtz wallpaper, the doily, and a vintage button with the trims. So I hope you enjoyed this flip through, and I will, like I said, be putting this in my Etsy shop. If you're interested before then, you can private message me and let me know. Know you are loved. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.